Namaste. Welcome to the Congress, and for some of you, welcome to India. I know some of you have just landed this morning and still looking bright and cheerful. I was scolded by Dr. Karan Singh for making my narrative very verbose. He said I couldn't even understand what you've written about the Congress. So I'm trying to make it very simple today. I don't want to speak much. I think what is important is the experience over the next few days. Not just the experience of thoughts, but the experience of being together, of increasing affection, going more towards humility in our approach to how we might make learning happen for people who we take under our fold. So very briefly, I'd like to say that the Congress will deal with a few key issues. They are the fancy word pedagogy, which means how do we make learning happen? What is the way of education? Curriculum development and innovation. So I think we are stuck in a mold over many, many years, many decades, over only certain subjects that should be taught or can be taught. And we need to review whether there is a whole field of subject teaching that we have ignored for many years, for over centuries, and can we innovate, and how can we innovate? And then how can we innovate in what exists today? How can we make subjects talk to each other and be friends? The third thing, and in my opinion, the most important, is how do we revisit evaluation and assessment, because everything works backwards from that. The fear in the mind of the parent, the fear in the mind of the administrator, the fear in the mind of the teacher, everything works backwards from how a child is assessed at the end of the day. Right from the time he's 4 years or she's 4 years old to the time they are ready to take on life. So how we assess, what do we think of this, may I call he or she a soul in evolution? How are we assessing this evolutionary process from the time a child is born to the time a child is 18 and then 21 or whatever to take on life? And what is it that we are assessing is the most important question that we have to address. I'd like to use two Sanskrit words here because I think it explains it all. There's a word, soshan and poshan. In Sanskrit, words often, similar sounding words mean exactly the opposite. So I'm going to use these two words. Soshan means, how can I use things or even devour things for my own benefit? So soshan means taking, using, etc. Poshan means nourishing. And truly, if we look at these two words, they are the key to how we should become self-aware, how we should create awareness amongst others, and what is it in education that can create that outer and inner awareness. And really, if we would look at the word poshan, nourishment, then we see nature. While it takes, like a growing tree, while it takes from the earth and takes from the sky, it in turn also nourishes the sky and the earth. And is that the way education should happen with people? So poshan is the key to good education when the mindset of the teacher and the mindset of the parent and the mindset of the student all think of how can we give nourishment and be nourished at the same time, rather than how can we impose, how can we take, what can we get. So if these key issues are looked at in the way of learning, the way of curriculum development, the way of assessment, the way we look at why we are being educated, then we can make a big difference to the way we grow as human beings. I wanted to say a lot more, but I will just speak briefly now about the structure of the Congress. We begin today with, the inaugural session where we'll have our very eminent dignitaries speak to you in just a few minutes. We then have a short break, and then we have a very, very special opening plenary session with some great minds, and I hope all of you will listen very carefully to what they have to say. Then we have lunch, and then we have 2 round tables. The first round table is on approaches to faculty development and faculty development bodies, or educational bodies in general. The second round table is looking at revisiting or evolving local global curriculum in cultural contexts. So that's the structure for today. That finishes at 6, and then at 7 we have a very, very unique choreography by Dr. Sonal Mansingh, followed by the inaugural dinner, which is hosted by our partner, Indian Council for Cultural Relations. Tomorrow, the whole day, I've broken the mold of the Congress as it was last year. So tomorrow, I thought, instead of just talking about education, let's do some practical work. And so I am personally conducting a full-day workshop on integral education, followed by a very special plenary session with very powerful speakers tomorrow. The session is on Indian cultural approaches to integral education. And I hope all of you will be there and many more who will join us later. The day after tomorrow, we have our academic parallel sessions, and we have 9 parallel sessions over the day on various subjects like revisiting assessment, revisiting cultural context, traditional knowledge systems, educational exclusion, ways of skills training, innovative use of science and technology in new curriculum development and education, etc. And I hope you will enjoy that and also learn from each other. Then we have a very special plenary address at 5:30 on the 14th by Dr. Sam Pitroda, who's the Chief Advisor to the Prime Minister of India, and also much more than that, he's an innovator, he's an artist even, and I asked him that he should speak on his own experience as a multifaceted being who very smoothly moves from one discipline to another. That is followed by a very special performance by, or a choreography by Tanushri Shankar, who belongs to the very famous Ravi Shankar family, and they have a dance troupe for many, many years, very famous. And they're doing a piece on Tagore called Chirantan, which has narration by Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, who is a world figure. I think all of you might have heard his name, a very, very famous film star. And then we have a VIP dinner after that. On the 15th, we have the first half of the day as the closing session of the program. And we have Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who is a very eminent jurist and also the national spokesperson for the Congress Party. He will be giving a valedictory on the 15th. And I will be giving my closing remarks. But before that, we'll have group reports from all the panels on the previous day, and we'll take into account everybody's feelings and thoughts and bring them all together, and that will then go into my closing remarks. And by the end of it, I hope this Congress is not just about giving papers and getting certificates for certain people, but I hope it's about coming together and looking at how we can synergize and have a world network to make a difference in our local regions on the ground. So I hope this Congress, we have enough time to interact so that we look at how we move forward from here, not just for the next conference, but how do we make a difference on the ground. And I hope, Selja, who's a dear friend of mine, I hope we can work with you and see how we can make this difference in India. So without speaking much more, I'm delighted that you're all here. I can't see you very clearly because of the lights, but I hope we get a chance to interact. And last but not the least, I must say that this Congress or anything that we do would not be possible without my trustees of Shruti Foundation, who are really the backbone, the pillar, the inspiration of whatever we do. And I must acknowledge them here. We have Dr. Sudarshan Agarwal. He is like a father, friend, trustee, always supportive in anything we want to do. He is the former governor of Uttaranchal in India. Thank you, sir, for being here, for being with us. Dr. Shobna Narayan, many of you would have heard her name for the last 40 years at least. She's one of the greatest performing artists of India, a great Kathak dancer, a great, very, very celebrated and appreciated bureaucrat for many years. She's been in charge of education in various ways. She's been in charge of many cultural bodies, and we are very, very honored that she's our trustee. Dr. Shiv Shankar Mukherjee, who I met only a couple of years ago, but we instantly became friends. He's the former High Commissioner to the United Kingdom and has very kindly agreed to be with us as the trustee of Shruti Foundation. Many of them couldn't make it here today. Mr. Luther, Priya Hingorani, I don't see her. Is she here? She said she would be here, but she's not here. She was the Vice President of the Bar Association of the Supreme Court and a great friend. She's not here. And of course, first and last but not the least, Mr. S.K. Mishra, who's the chairman of Shruti Foundation. Sir, thank you so much for your kind words in the beginning and for welcoming everybody. And once again, I would say that I'm a little speck in the foundation, and nothing of what we do would be possible without our trustees. So thank you very much for being here and for being with us. Thank you. That's all I'll say for now.